And while Iman, Maria, Sally and Lana remain optimistic about the future of England, clearly Islamophobia is an issue in Britain today. And while not everybody I met has been a victim of Islamophobia, most have experienced some form of prejudice or bigotry, or know a family member or friend who has. But as I would soon learn, the situation in France is far worse. Indeed, one young French woman shared with me her thoughts, concluding that she would like one day to move to England, where she believes the situation is a lot better. Whether England's Muslim population would agree with her, I'm not sure. But to French Muslims, England seems like a haven of acceptance and freedom. Even more than in England, Muslims in France were anxious to talk to me, to tell me their thoughts, tell me about their lives, as if I were the sole person willing to give them a voice. Including the surrounding suburbs, the population of Paris totals roughly 6.6 million. In 2009, it is estimated that some 27 million visitors vacationed in Paris, hoping to absorb the city's culture, that je ne sais quoi, for which Paris is so well known. But venture away from the tourist spots, Notre Dame, the Louvre, the Eiffel Tower, and the city has a more sordid side. There is disillusionment, dissatisfaction, a feeling of hopelessness, and this has been brewing for years. In the summers of 2005 and 2007, Paris featured highly in the world news as young people in the suburbs rioted night after night, week after week. The suburbs are home to those individuals who cannot afford apartments in the city, or who want a slightly calmer life for their children without the hustle and bustle of city life. Often immigrants live in the suburbs, and many such immigrants are from Muslim countries, Morocco, Tunisia, Algeria. Quickly, these facts became intertwined, and the riots were labelled as being Muslim. The truth, as protesters, Muslims and non-Muslims alike will explain, is that the riots were fuelled by social and economic deprivation rather than religion. True, some rioters were Muslim, but they rioted for social justice, not out of religious hatred. Yet media and politicians focus on the Muslim question in France. Many people believe that media and political Islamophobia are used to direct attention away from the real problems and create an issue around which electors will rally. The reality is that this is all being done at the expense of French Muslims. As one young woman would tell me, it's like playing with fire. You play, and then one day it all goes up in flames. A few days later, I ventured into the outskirts of Paris, to the suburb of Saint-Denis, to Cercy, an Islamic educational institute open to Muslims and non-Muslims alike. I was invited to spend a day with the students and faculty, and was greeted with open arms, plenty of food, and new friends. Over the next 2 weeks, I would meet many of these young people to talk again about their lives, how they see Islamophobia, and what they believe the future holds.
Basically, when I introduce myself, I start with I'm Muslim. That's what qualifies me first.
It's not a rejection. I don't reject everything that's French. It's not at all a rejection. It's more that being Muslim englobes everything. It's like if you say to a Christian, are you Christian or are you French? I shouldn't have to choose. For me, being Muslim is bigger than everything. What is amazing about Islam is that it is for all eras and all places. It's like as if you were to give to an artist a blank canvas and 4 colours of paint and ask him to create. It's like that, you see. You have your canvas and your colours and you create yourself within that Islamic canvas.
Now, were you brought up in a Muslim household or have you converted to Islam?
My parents do not believe in God, so they never told. Although my family is Christian, so 24. Oh, no, 23, sorry. So basically 2 years ago, which is it's pretty recent because it took some time for me to take this last step forward of embracing the religion. Although I embraced its values years before.
suis convertie à l'islam, donc je suis née chrétienne.
I converted to Islam. I was born Christian and I converted to Islam in October 2001. Only a week later, I was at the mosque and I found a prospectus for CERSI. And thank goodness I found that prospectus because the program here is one of Islamic study taught in French for people born in France.
The situation in France today for Muslims.
They make wrong assumptions. They see people having a long beard, and they identify them as French Bin Laden or something like that.
We grew up here, we're born here. We shouldn't have to justify ourselves, and yet it's as if we're always being asked to justify our presence here, to show our love for the French flag, for the Republic, and to excuse ourselves for being the children of foreigners and for being Muslims in France. If Islamophobia exists in France, it's because it grows out of well-fertilised ground. We always have in France a desire to find a scapegoat. So yes, there is Islamophobia here. It has many roots, but I believe it. France was one of the biggest colonising countries. France colonised Muslim countries, and back then religion, I don't think, was such a big deal. But today we have huge debates about national identity. Justify yourselves. What are you doing here? The French have this sort of schizophrenia that says, oh, we're all Gauls. It's a policy of assimilation that was practiced in France's African colonies, and it's a policy that's practiced here too. So it's assimilation policy that says you can be French, but only as long as you abdicate your religion. You can be French so long as you let go a part of yourself. You can be French, but only if you abandon the cultural heritage of your parents and family, that richness, that cultural identity. Assimilation seems to mean abandon everything for the French way. Above all, there is a huge ignorance. When I talk to those around me, they're always very ignorant about things related to Islam, and also related to the question of feminism. There are a lot of supposed feminists who have the impression, thanks to certain organisations in France, that Muslim women follow a different family model.